Okay, thank you for joining me here, those joining here and those joining virtually. I'm going to talk to you about how we at Cisco, within the collaboration team, are reimagining employee experiences and the role of AI. Nowadays you can't do any presentation without talking about AI. In fact, if you don't mention the word AI, something's wrong with you. I've already mentioned it 5 times now. But you know what? We've been working with AI for a long time. With collaboration, we've taken a slightly different approach because we believe that AI is not just about language intelligence, which gained a lot of prominence the last year, right? Everybody's been talking about large language models and how it's going to change practically every role. But in addition to language intelligence, we believe that audio intelligence and video intelligence are equally important. Because when you collaborate, when you communicate, it's not just about the words you use. It's not just the text. It's your voice inflection. It's the video artifacts. When I say something and do this, it means something very different from saying the same thing and maybe doing this. So the approach we've taken within Webex is to combine the power of large language models with video and audio intelligence, which, by the way, we've been working on for a decade. So some of the things we've already shipped, and many of you use these features. So transcription, translation. There was a large language model in use, right? You start to speak, it recognizes 80% of the words, but then quickly corrects itself. That's a large language model in action already in the product today. Audio intelligence, noise removal, that is intelligence that we've built to our product over the last few years. So you'll see us continue to incorporate not just large language models, but also audio and video intelligence. Now, the reason we did that was because we realized that text, large language models only capture that we can extract from email messages or spoken words, only make up some of what you're trying to communicate. And that is why we developed a real-time media model. So think of that as a large language model for audio and video. And in our products, we are integrating both those technologies. So it's going to allow us to capture additional insights that text alone cannot provide. And I'm going to show you a few examples of that. So let me set up a video that articulates one of these use cases. And it happens to all of us all the time. You're in a meeting, the doorbell rings, and you step away, right? By the way, you have to remember to turn off the camera, mute the microphone, and then when you come back, you have to remember to undo those 2 things. Now, the real-time media model can capture some of what's going on in the meeting and can detect this, and it can react to that. So this video is about that particular use case when the doorbell rings and you step away and what happens when you come back. So let's go ahead and roll that video.
Your day moves fast, and interruptions go with the territory. With AI Assistant, you can get personal summaries of what you missed.
Okay, I'll review it all and send over the changes.
Missed the full meeting? Get video highlights, meeting recap, and action items. The AI Assistant keeps your day moving.
So that's the Cisco AI Assistant in a Webex meeting. So let's double click into what just happened. So you had the person step away because they had some kind of a distraction. The audio and video intelligence detected that they had stepped away. It automatically blurred the background, muted the camera, and when that person came back, the language intelligence, which was capturing what was going on in the meeting, asked you, by the way, do you want to get caught up? And it gave you a quick summary. Right? By the way, when you end the meeting, you get the meeting summary and has summaries, and you can follow up with questions. So you're seeing audio intelligence, video intelligence, and the language intelligence at work. By the way, when you get the summary of the meeting, it will also capture some of those artifacts. So during this piece of the conversation, Javed had stepped away. Sometimes it's important to know that the person might not have been around when we were discussing an important topic. So that is one example of how we are combining intelligence into our products. And as we were building out our AI technologies, one of the things we realized that the codecs that are used to encode audio and video were actually somewhat dated. In fact, the audio codecs that most of the industry uses were built almost a decade ago. So we went back to the drawing board and built a whole new AI codec from the ground up, the Webex AI codec. And the reason we did that was, number one, we realized that we could now pack with this new codec 10x, almost 10x more capacity into the same pipe. So now, under low bandwidth conditions or when you have extreme packet loss, we can still deliver extremely high fidelity audio without losing any fidelity in less than 1/10 of the bandwidth. It also saves you on storage costs because you can now save the same audio stream on storage using a lot less storage. So that's one of the underlying innovations that we've built into our product. This is going to start to roll out in our products over the course of 2024. Over the last couple of years, the other thing we realized was that as we were dealing with hybrid work, we communicate in so many different ways beyond just meetings. There's a lot of emphasis during COVID that was put on video meetings. But in reality, when we communicate, it's not just meetings, it's messages, it's calling, obviously, but there were other workloads. So we whiteboard sometimes, and then we also added support for events. So events like these, where there's a physical component and a virtual component. So we've built a whole slew of tools that we've put into the Webex suite. The Webex suite, so when you buy one of the workloads from us, you get all of these workloads. It's included in our enterprise license for all of your users. Now these workloads are built on the same Webex platform. So the intelligence, the AI intelligence we've built, the security we've built are now available across all of these workloads. I showed you the assistant in that video and work in a meeting, but that same functionality is going to be available in messaging. It's going to be available in a regular phone call. So you could transcribe a phone call, you could capture a summary of the phone call, because all of these workloads are built on the same platform. So let me show you the AI assistant across the platform with a quick demo here. So I'm going to switch over to the Webex app. So if we can bring that up. So this is the Webex app that is the single tool for all of those workloads that I showed you on the previous slide. So from within the Webex app, not only do we have messaging, but we've got meetings in the app, we've got calling, it's also your soft phone, and then we've also integrated third-party tools, actually Vidcast, which is the other workload included inside the Webex suite. So what I'm going to do is switch over here to the meetings view, and by the way, if you're like me, your meetings calendar probably looks something like this. There's lots of meetings and you end up getting double booked. And so you have to pick one of the meetings to attend. But the assistant notices that, by the way, you missed a meeting. So this was a meeting I missed, and it sends me a summary of that meeting. And the assistant has also summarized that meeting for me. So in this case, the meeting notes is a quick summary of what happened in that 1 hour meeting. So I don't need to necessarily read through the entire transcript. But more importantly, actually, there's action items at the bottom. So there's one action item assigned to me, which always happens to be about budgets. But what we've also done is we've built the ability for the assistant to provide a highlight reel of that summary. So some of us are visual. Instead of reading through that summary, you can listen through that 57-second summary of the entire 1 hour meeting and quickly get caught up. So not only is it a text summary, but it's a video summary, like a movie trailer of the entire meeting. Now, sometimes you want to double click and go into the details of what was being said. So you could also go in and look at the full recording. So this is the existing recording functionality for the entire meeting. It has the full transcript, but you can jump to a particular section, or you can also jump to chapters. So the assistant is also breaking up the meeting based on the topics that were discussed automatically into different chapters, so that you could go to a specific chapter that might be interesting to you. So that is the AI assistant in the context of meetings. So let's go back and look at the messaging functionality. The same AI assistant is also integrated into our messaging application. And in here, if you can see this is the spaces that I've been added to. And again, if you're like me, I step away from my desk, I come back after a couple of hours, and I've got hundreds of spaces that I haven't read. And getting caught up often is extremely painful, not just because you have so many spaces, but you have to look through who said what, and sometimes you get distracted, and before you know it, you've lost your way. Now, this is where the AI assistant can help. So in this particular case, we're going to go into this space, and the assistant can help you summarize all the unread messages, or it can summarize the entire space for you. So you can see what the assistant did here was it looked through the messages that I had not read and summarizes it. It is aware of the kinds of things I'm interested in, so based on that, it's customizing that summary for me. And it can also help you respond. So in this case, let's say I want to quickly respond to the space now that I'm caught up. I'm in a hurry, I type things up, and not only are there spelling mistakes, but it probably doesn't sound very good. So I can again ask the assistant to maybe suggest some alternative ways of saying the same thing. We've added the ability to shorten the message, make it longer, but you can also pick the tone or formality, and based on that, have the assistant give you a different version of this message. So you're going to go ahead and do that, and go ahead and send that out. So that is, that's much better than what the original text was, and that sounds much better. I think we found that people feel that this. At least in my case, it makes me come across as a nicer person than you really might be, right? So that's the assistant inside the messaging application. I'm going to switch back to the slides here. So how can you experience the Cisco AI Assistant? The Cisco AI Assistant, because it's built into the platform, if we can switch back to the slides, please. Cisco AI Assistant is going to be an integral part of the entire Webex platform, which means it's going to show up in every workload. And not only will it be in the Webex suite, so I showed you some of those use cases, but it's also going to be in our devices. The audio and video intelligence is allowing us to deliver some amazing experiences that I'll talk about, but it'll also be a part of our contact center. So think inside the contact center where somebody is called in, you want a quick summary of that agent interaction, but you also want things like noise cancellation. You want to capture sentiment of the customer. The customer is unhappy. They had an elevated voice. So the same AI functionality is going to allow us to deliver a better Webex contact center experience, and also Control Hub, which is our management console. So let me switch gears and talk about our workspaces and devices. Some interesting metrics or numbers that came back from a recent survey that we did in EMEA. So these are numbers specific to EMEA, and we had some very interesting findings. So we found out, so this is what our customers are telling us, that 79% of employers we found were mandating a return to office. And when we surveyed employees, and this surprised us, especially here in EMEA, 74% of employees are positive about returning to work. That sounded a little counter, but that's what employees are telling us. But more importantly, only 37% of them felt that the office was prepared for hybrid work. So while employees and employers want to get back to the office, might not be for 5 days, for certain use cases, they feel like the industry, that the companies are not ready. And why is that? I think that is because we feel video enabled requires more than just a camera and a monitor, right? Just sticking a camera or a monitor doesn't allow you to deliver the experiences that employees are expecting, because when employees are coming back into the office, they're coming back not to be more productive, but to collaborate with others. And by the way, they expect that they can pull in people who might not be in the office. And that is why our North Star, as we build out our workspaces and devices, is a concept we are calling distance zero. The experience in the office should be like being there. And actually, we experience this at Cisco. We've got our devices deployed. Most of us have a Desk Pro at our homes. Oftentimes, we meet people and we don't realize that we've never met in person because of the experiences our devices are able to deliver. And that's the guiding principle we've used as we've redesigned our hardware portfolio. So this is our entire hardware portfolio. We've got room series devices for those of you who already have a television screen or a monitor. You can use those devices. We've got the board series, which is also a whiteboard, so it's a digital whiteboard, and then desk devices. Jeetu mentioned this at the keynote yesterday. We made the decision to actually put NVIDIA chips into our devices a few years ago, which means we are now able to use those chips to actually do the AI inside the device. And that allows us to deliver some amazing AI experiences. I'll touch upon a couple of those. But the other thing we've done is these devices work with the Microsoft, the Zoom, and the Google ecosystem. So that means you get all that benefit even if you are joining a meeting on a competing platform. So what are some of those AI experiences? I'll touch upon a couple of these. You might know that things like head detection and people counting, so we are able to adjust the view and the frame based on the number of people, where people might be sitting. More recently, we've added things like frames and camera intelligence, so when there are multiple people in the room, instead of sending one box with 4 people, we can actually send 4 streams. That allows you to follow along when you're remote. Meeting zones, this is one of my favorite functionalities. We noticed that people were asking for video conferencing in open spaces, which tend to be noisy with a lot of distractions. What meeting zones lets you do is it lets you draw a square in these open spaces where there might be a video conferencing unit, and anything outside that box now gets left out. So that way you're not getting distracted. So all of this is AI at work inside our devices, leveraging that NVIDIA chip that we have in those devices. So I know many of you are going to say, okay, that's great, Javed, we love these things, but how do I manage all of this? And this is where we've built, I think, the world's best management console, the Control Hub. It's the single place to manage not just users and provisioning and licenses, but you can manage the devices, you can manage every meeting, you can look at the quality of meetings, and also now Webex Contact Center. And the same Control Hub is also integrated into the rest of the Cisco ecosystem. So it can pull insights from Thousand Eyes, it can pull insights from Meraki, and has additional analytics like utilization. So you can now be able to, when let's say you have a problem with a particular meeting, and you get called in to debug it, not only can you tell what was going on the endpoint or the Webex device, you can now connect the dots using Thousand Eyes and Meraki and actually trace the problem, whether that's on your local network or potentially within your service provider. So we are the only vendor that has this complete end-to-end view of not just every meeting, but every phone call. So this is all integrated into Control Hub. Guess what? You're going to have the assistant in the Control Hub as well. You can see a quick screenshot of what that might look like. In this particular case, you're seeing that you can have using large language models, we've integrated the ability to have a conversation instead of looking through pages trying to find a particular setting. It's going to be able to parse that data and potentially help you find solutions to problems much, much faster. So the AI assistant will also be a part of the Control Hub. So that's a quick view of how we are using AI to reimagine work. What I thought we'd do next is spend the rest of the time talking to one of our customers who's not only a user of Webex, but they've actually experienced some of these AI features. So I'm going to invite Sebastian from Deutsche Telekom to come talk to us about it. Sebastian.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. So tell us firstly a little bit about your role at Deutsche Telekom.
So I'm a solution architect for Webex solutions at Deutsche Telekom. Our department is serving internal and external customers.
Yeah.
And we are using as Deutsche Telekom Webex as our main communication tool. That means we are using Webex messaging, Webex meetings, Webex calling dedicated instance. Some parts are still UCM on-prem and contact center enterprise.
So let's go back to the start of COVID, right? I think whenever I say that to anybody in IT, there's this smile that shows up on their face. So let's tell us a little bit about how that was for you and how you've adapted to that. Yeah.
So I would start a little bit early. So when I started 20 years ago at Deutsche Telekom, I had on my first day a laptop, a VPN client, and a Cisco 7960 phone on my desk. Over the time, we added Meeting Place and Jabber to have soft phone capabilities to work fully remote. We were happy that we started very early, I think around 2018, with the evaluation of Cisco Spark, Webex app, and Webex Meeting, the cloud service, because we were ready to migrate exactly shortly before COVID. Then we migrated all our workloads in 4 weeks from on-prem to the cloud. And then I think I would say the magic happened. Webex emails changed to Webex messages and spaces. Phone calls changed to Webex meetings, and our platform became from one day to the next day really mission critical for us because we are a telecommunication service provider. We have to run our networks from every place that our customers can run their business.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It looks like you had a head start because of the work you had done before COVID. So.
We had luck.
Yeah. So how does hybrid look for you today at Deutsche Telekom? Yeah.
So I think today we are still using the service heavily. Just to say some numbers, during peak COVID, we had per day approximately 1.7 million messages in Webex spaces. We had around, in the peak year, we had 2.2 billion Webex participant minutes in Webex meetings. And the adoption of all the devices is just still growing because everybody wants to have a Desk Pro and all those features.
Yeah. Okay. So I talked about AI, right? AI, we believe, is going to be a pervasive part of collaboration and our platform. Have you used some of those features, and what do you think?
So for me, is AI not only the new features. I love noise removal. I'm a person who's walking regularly around, and all those noise filtering is amazing for me. And the benefit of that all is it's intuitively integrated into the client. And the same is happening for me with the new AI features like space summaries. So I love that feature because it really helps me to make my work easier because I just click on a space, get the summary what happens, and then I can decide what I want to make, if I want to read all the messages or just stay and go to the next space.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that feature too. I think one of the features that I couldn't show, didn't get a chance to show is, and it's in beta right now, is I get added to spaces and I don't quite know why. And you can actually ask the AI assistant, why do you think I got added to the space? And it does a pretty good job of trying to interpret that, yeah. And for those of you who are looking to try these out, most of these features are either in beta or available in the product. We are also happy to get you enrolled in the beta. I think one of the things that we've learned is that ultimately AI has to be transparent and seamless behind the scenes, making your job easier. Otherwise, it's not going to get adopted. How do you think AI is going to change things at Deutsche Telekom?
I think for me it's important, or for Deutsche Telekom in general, it's important that all those features are really intuitive to be used because it has to be integrated deeply into the client and be easy to use. If people need a cheat sheet to use the AI, something is broken for me because the natural flow of working together is just broken, and that is blocking normally the energy. We saw it during COVID, what is possible when everything is flowing, because then amazing things can happen. And that is for me the most important thing, that it's easy to use. That people, if something is not working, they recognize directly because they are so loving the feature and using it actively.
Yeah. Yeah, so speaking of Webex features, I'm sure you've got a favorite feature or maybe a feature request for my engineering leader who's listening in.
What I would request, we are Germany, data privacy, very data privacy focused, space meeting summaries without recordings.
Meeting summaries, I think that one's coming, right, Anurag? That's right, yeah. I think Sebastian is referring to today, the demo that you saw was in the context of a recording, but you ideally want that on all the time. And the Be Right Back functionality that I showed you is an example of that. So I think we've got you covered there. So Sebastian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, so what you saw today was AI is going to be a pervasive part of all things Webex. We will combine audio intelligence, video intelligence, and large language models in the platform. So whether you're using one workload from us, whether it's just calling or meetings or messaging, you'll get the benefits of the AI that we've integrated into that platform. We've also taken security and manageability very seriously with that platform, so you'll be able to secure those workloads, and all of this will be delivered via a single panel, the control hub. So hopefully this gave you a quick overview of how we are approaching AI, and thank you so much for joining us today.